Okay, I'm gonna be fast because my connection is bad. Um, so again, welcome to our Let's Eat seminar. The EAT stands for Education for Agroecological Transformation. It is an effort from Institute for Agroecology at the University of Vermont for us to co-agroecology learning across the world. So far, we have had programs present from the US, Latin America, and Europe. And we are really excited to welcome today the master's program in agroecology from the Norwegian University of Life Sciences. They have been doing this program for over 2 decades in a very innovative way, really practical, with a lot of reflection about the best way to learn and teach and co-learn about agroecology. And so we will be hearing from them shortly, but first, we are going to tackle some technical issues for translation and how the meeting is going to go. And I am Ernesto Mendez. I'm the co-director of the Institute of Agroecology at University of Vermont. And Yannicka, would you introduce yourself too as
Sure,
co-facilitator?
I can take over after that. So thank you, Ernesto. My name is Janica Anderson. I am a postdoc at Agroecology Lab at the University of Maine and also an affiliate at the Institute for Agroecology at UVM. A few housekeeping issues before we get started. So for those of you who need translation from English to Spanish, there's a little icon at the bottom of your screen, and you can click it and choose the language there. If you have any issues, just send me a message on Zoom. Please mute yourself. If possible, have your camera on, especially during the discussions, because it's always nice to see everyone's faces. And we will be recording the session, not the breakout group conversations, but the presentation and then the plenary. And these will be available on the Institute for Agroecology's YouTube site later on in both languages. Also, please rename yourself, add your preferred language before or after your name. Let me do that so you can see what I mean. So you can just add either Spanish or English or both if both of those are um, languages that you can operate on. So when we do the breakout groups, if there are people who only speak Spanish, we can then take that into consideration. All right, and Ernesto already talked a little bit about the initiative. The line was breaking, so just to recap, this is an initiative that started earlier this year. So we've been hosting these seminars. We did 3 in the spring semester, and now this is the second one this semester. So we've heard experiences from here from the University of Vermont, from the Institute for Agroecology, from colleagues in Mexico Sur, from folks in Spain, in Córdoba, and then this fall we had colleagues from University of Veracruz in Mexico sharing their program. But without further ado, we are so happy to have our Norwegian colleagues here. So we would like all of you, it's a big team. So we decided that maybe all of you can quickly present yourselves and then Geir, totally mispronouncing it probably. Sorry. Um, he can take it away and do the presentation. After that, we'll have some time for Q&A. And then we'll split into breakout groups to discuss some questions that are important for the Norwegian team. and then we'll come back for plenary after that. All right, take it away. Maybe if Anna Marie can go first, and then the rest of the team, and maybe we'll end with Geir, so he can continue with the presentation.
Yes. Hello, my name is Anna Marie Nicolaisen. I joined the Agroecology group at the Norwegian University of Life Sciences in 2013. My background is from medical anthropology, graduate studies in the US with fieldwork in Ecuador and the US and India. So I speak Spanish and English, and the focus of my graduate work was both in school food systems and conversion to organic agriculture, and that made the conversion into agroecology an easy one. I'm teaching and doing research in the agroecology program at NMBU. Thank you. Geir, do you want?
I'm last.
We agreed to take Geir last.
Okay.
I can go next. So my name is Vebjørn Safseng. I'm a PhD student in this agroecology group, and I'm also part of the teaching team. I am a graduate from the master's program from 2019, and I've been working on both for my master thesis and now for my PhD, urban agriculture, urban community gardening. And in the master's program, in the teaching team, I work mostly with qualitative research methods and quite a bit with the outreach for the stakeholders we use for our casework.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tor Arvid Bredal. I'm a professor of agroecology at the Norwegian University of Life Sciences, and my background is quite multidisciplinary in agronomy from the same institution, and I hold a PhD in soil microbiology, and I worked on research originally within organic agriculture on carbon and nitrogen turnover in soil, and I've been co-responsible for this master's program in agroecology together with my colleagues Geir and contribution from Chuck and eventually Anna Marie, since yeah, Geir and I and Chuck started in the year of 2000.
I'm Chuck Francis from University of Nebraska, emeritus professor. I'm actually a recovering plant breeder for the last 25 years, and I want to be agroecologist. At Nebraska, I was teaching agroecology, organic farming, rural land use, and working in extension. And I've worked in the Philippines, Colombia for 7 years with CIOT, and for the last 25 years working in Norway with this team.
Yeah, so my name is Geir Lieblein. I work as professor of agroecology at NMBU. My formal background is in horticulture, but I shifted to farming and food systems and research and teaching in those areas in the early 90s. So I've been doing that for the past 30 years. And I will be the one presenting our program, and then my colleagues can answer all the questions afterwards. Let's see. I will try this one, probably. Let me know. Is this okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so the presentation of this program, and let me just say from the start that our whole approach to education sorry, I want to start my clock here so I can know where I am in time. Our whole approach to education is the world is calling is a good way to start the whole thing. I think the world is calling for us, and us who work in education. We started 25 years ago. We have a double degree collaboration with a French institution since 2008, and the whole planning of this program really started in the early 90s, more or less exactly 30 years ago, through a very intensive and fruitful Nordic collaboration, definitely supported by Chuck Francis, almost right from the start, and another scholar from a pioneering institution in Australia. It was interesting on my way to the office today. In this afternoon, I passed by and greeted our previous rector at the university, and he was the one who really helped us get started here in 2000. If you'd asked all the professors at the institution, they would have put their thumbs down, you know, but you need support right from the top sometimes to get things through. So it was an interesting coincidence, I think. So our approach is not mainly theory or teacher-centered. It's also not student-centered, not mainly student-centered, and we would like to call it world-centered, and with an aim. We'd like to think of agroecology, at least we're trying out the idea of thinking of agroecology as a discipline, but then as a normative discipline, sort of similar to medicine and law. Medicine, health is the aim, law, truth is the aim, and we have sustainable farming and food systems as the aim of our total efforts. So we started in 2000 after several years of planning, not the least through developing and running Nordic PhD courses in a way that formed the basis for the starting up of the master's program. We like to emphasize that we have a competence-oriented way of working with education, but also not just to equip the student, but also to enable them to develop as individuals with their own subjectiveness and sense of responsibility, so that they can take responsibility for their actions. It's an international program. We've had students from more than 50 countries so far, and coming from a wide range of different disciplines. And you can see here sort of the overall distribution of students. So you can see about 70% from European countries, quite many from North America, and about 20% from Latin America, Africa, and Oceania. And this is the total distribution, kind of divided into the different countries. Won't go through all of that, but it gives you a certain impression of the diversity of students that's been involved here so far. Yeah, I'd like to say a couple of words about the structure of the program so you get a sense of that. The first semester consists of one whole semester course that runs over 4 months. We've called it Action Learning in Farming and Food Systems. In the second semester, we take a step further from action learning to action research in the 10-credit course, which is really helping the students to shift their mindsets in the direction of what does it take to do research and to plan their master thesis work. They can also select an agroecology internship and other elective courses at the institution. In the third semester, the double degree students go to France for the whole semester in Lyon. Our single degree students, which is about half of the class, in the Norwegian system, they can choose between a 1 semester and a 2 semester course. ECTS is sort of the European term for credits, and it's you do 60 credits, 60 ECTS per year, and everyone is involved in the thesis work during the last semester. Looking at our action education model, you can think of these two overlapping sort of circles as if you look at the university side, we've extended the campus into society in a sense. And since it's agroecology, it's the farming and food system sort of realm of society. We sometimes call this a dialogue space because when we put students into this area, direct them in this direction, they can involve themselves in projects together with resource people out in the field, so to speak. And it's our task as teachers to organize these meetings and these projects. We've experienced that there's a certain set of core competencies the students need to act productively in this dialogue space, and the ability to enter into a dialogue is one of them. And the others can't go into detail, but sort of just name them. The reflection competence, the observation competence, which means suspending judgments, letting the whole of a situation emerge, participation and visionary thinking, which we also exercise explicitly in the classroom. A couple of words about what we see as the core agroecological practice. If you look at the small drawing here, you can see there's a small town in the back of the drawing, the consumer system or the citizen system, and then the farming system, and they all are part of the larger food system, which is for us the focus of agroecology. And the agroecological practice here is what you can call dealing with the challenge of the whole. So, which means that you transcend the partial traditional disciplines, and you work with farming and food systems in a more exploring manner, where it's the system as a whole that should inform your understanding of what's at stake in each specific situation. Because agroecology is as such not just understanding the whole, but based on an understanding of the whole to find site-specific solutions towards sustainability. So the end point is always action, but which is a very partial and particular thing. You do one thing, you don't do another thing. The main point is that the actions to be decided on rooted in an understanding of the whole of a situation and not in a partial disciplinary predetermined part of the situation. We call this the artistry of the agroecologist sometimes, because to find these solutions is not the question of just putting results of research into practice. It requires a high degree of creativity and adaptability to specific situations, and that makes it worthwhile to use the term artistry, we think. So as such, the central idea we have in our teaching is that we try to guide the students' attention towards the world out there, the world of farms, food production, food consumption, and in a sense, And when we do that, we encourage them to not primarily be concerned about textbooks and theory. So turn away from the theory and turn your attention towards the world as the primary and starting point for learning and development. It doesn't mean, of course, that theory is not important, but it doesn't have a primary role in the educational process, more of a supporting role. We're also ask questions of how can we run the education in such a way that it can really impact on the post-education life of the students. Because, that's a double step. Because the main purpose of education is not what the students learn, we think. It's what they can do with what they have become, what they have learned. So you have to look into the post-education sphere to find the impacts of your education. So we can say that there's much more to education than learning. We thought it might be useful to take a quick look at the sort of the international discourse on education for sustainable development goals, not to go deep into that, but just to look at what is written. And in this case, from UNESCO, this was in 2017. They also emphasize in cross-cutting key competences for achieving all SDGs. Competencies cannot be taught. They need to be practiced. So that we do much more of exercising than discussing or, of course, and of lecturing, which we also do sometimes, but not as much as what is mostly done. And this whole notion that competences are developed by doing them, sort of being involved in action. And UNESCO also points at these key methods areas that are all part of our teaching: collaborative real-world projects, vision building exercises, and analysis of complex system, reflective journals, etc. There's the recent UNESCO report from 2022 that also emphasizes, if you think back on the educational model I presented to you, the importance of extending the campus into society. And they emphasize the areas of inter and transdisciplinarity, becoming open institutions, recognizing different ways of knowing, and overall that the institutions should have a stronger presence in society. Another important sort of body of theory for us relates, among others, to the work of Donald Schoen, who developed this whole thinking around the reflective practitioner. This is his book going back to 1984. It's a highly authoritative book. I think it will soon be cited 100,000 times. So Schoen is criticizing what he calls technical rationality, defined as instrumental problem solving, made rigorous by the application of scientific theory and technique. Let's see where I am on time. And his arguments for criticizing is that he's recognized, I've just adapted this to the agroecological situation, that the systems, the situations we find when we go to farms and in other parts of the food system are not stable at all. You can't fit research results into them directly. So they are not stable. There's value conflicts. They are unique. They are every situation is different. Combination of different factors. It's the particularities, and the generic research results doesn't fit by itself into the particular situations. So Schön proposes that if you want to do something productive for sustainability in such situations, you need to reflectively engage with the specifics of the situation. And Schön calls this reflection in action. So he puts high emphasis on the ability to reflect, to be able to be adequate and constructive in how you deal with specifics of a situation. So he talks about, uses this term, reflective conversation with the situation, not an intervention upon it. And we place a strong emphasis on practicing and involving reflection activities in our education. So if we take this into the workings of an agroecologist, who will bring theoretical knowledge and experiences to this reflective conversation. And the whole challenge is to relate the uniqueness and specificities of each farm, for instance, to something more generic, which can bring in new ideas, other ways of looking at a situation and finding new solutions. But never enter a situation with a finite answer. Always be open for new discoveries and new ways of dealing with specific situations. Okay, having said that, if we look at this whole semester course that I presented initially, and how we work with action education, we use sometimes the Roman god Janus to sort of picture the whole approach and the activity, because his capacity is to look in two different directions, opposite directions in the sense that are connected. So it's the world outside, on one side, the world of farming and food systems, and then it's the world inside of the student or the I. I experience something when I'm involved in activities out there in the field. We orchestrate the project work the students do on farms and in food systems in this simple but productive and also challenging process of saying that they need to explore the present of the situation, create an as comprehensive understanding as possible, then move towards the future to clarify and creatively, collaboratively develop images of a desired future. When you have the present and the future, you can move to action planning and asking the question, how can we get from where we are today to where we want to be in the future? So the whole work ends with collaborative planning of action for improvement. And the students deliver two stakeholder documents, one at the farm level and one at the food system level, actually to be written to the key stakeholders at those two levels of the food system. Then they do this reflective activity, and we propose these questions you can see here as starting points for them to existentially reflect on their experiences in the field, the outcomes, their insights into what this is all about, and also on the activities they did together in the field, implications for themselves as someone who's becoming an agroecologist, etc. And they hand in two reflection documents, a final one will be now on December 10. And the whole work for us as teachers, the whole curriculum, you could say, is to give the students a way to meet the world of farming and food systems and themselves. So I'll illustrate this with a couple of pictures. For technical reasons, we had to separate this. So the students, they first go into the field. There's seven agroecology students harvesting potatoes here, and the farmer is here on the right side, talking with them. Having deep conversations with, in this case, a farmer as a resource person, from what they can get into his whole activity and learn from that. And vice versa. There's lots of interesting feedback from farmers because they get all of these questions from students that they've never heard before. Based on these conversations, the students use this technique that is called rich picturing to try to diagram, to try to collect all the information that they have received sort of linearly in conversations into one image. This is actually from the second week of the master's program. They also do work in urban areas sometimes, and this is one of the rich pictures from work in Oslo, the capital of our country. So that's the present situation. Then the students collaboratively with stakeholders, we also exercise visionary thinking in the classroom, develop ideas of a desired future state. This says Vision Fokol. Fokol is the name of the farm, 2026. So this was from the student group in 2016, and it's interesting, we're soon in 2026 now. So time flies. This is from collaborative work in this urban agriculture project in Oslo, and you see this very interesting mix of students and stakeholders in the field together working to find the shared understanding of the desired future. So when this is done, action planning and writing of these reports to specific stakeholders. As it says here, a client document prepared for Øystein Haugerud, the County Agricultural Office, and so forth. Here from more food system oriented projects, up in a valley in the eastern part of southern Norway, organic food in high school canteens, and so forth. And then the reflective activity as a result of having been involved in these different steps of an action-oriented, holistically grounded process for change, individually and together. I thought I'd give you just a glimpse of what our schedule looks like, just so you can see it. I will not go into the details, but this is the first of the autumn course. You can see week by week. There's a legend on the down left side that there's a color for each of the different kinds of activities we have. So, for instance, our emphasis on reflection, the light blue, it starts here. There's a couple of weeks without these specific reflection sessions because there's been other reflective activities inside other activities. But there's a second reflection session. There's one here. There's one here, and yeah, and I'll show you what happens in the second part. And you can see the brown areas are mainly when the students are out in the field or working separately with their projects. Yeah, we have almost whole day seminar on dialogues where the students can really practice being in dialogues. There's the vegetable garden practice runs through the whole program. Yeah, and then in the second part, the student take over the reflection sessions, and their task is to plan and conduct those sessions during the past weeks. This morning, if you see here, they had their final presentations of the food system project work, which we also organized on Zoom so that stakeholders had the possibility of zooming in and listen to the presentations of the students. Yeah, so we're almost at the final part of the semester here. So this survey of alumni, I'll say a couple of words about that, not very much. But again, main purpose of education is what will the students do with what they have become, which we can call the existential dimension of education. And that was one of the ideas that made us interested in doing this kind of a survey, which we did for the first 20 years of the program with these 3 research questions. I will here just present the response to a couple of them. So we sent out, just to say that, 367 students in total. We found emails, some of them incorrect, to 300. We had 121 responses, which is about 40%, which is quite good, we think. This is an overview of, we try to categorize all the different kinds of jobs they've had. So this is roughly precise. I mean, so 20% in research, slightly less in farming, but still about 15%, 10+% in teaching. The largest sectors was consultancy, advisory, facilitation, but also around 10% had sort of more, not consultancy, but direct operating work at the farming, mainly at the food system part of the whole. So their overall view of the experience was very positive, and we think that was very clear results. Can always be discussed if they are more positive when they answer a survey than they turn on their most positive side. But still, 92% agreed partly or fully that it was generally a positive experience. But of course, we are very far from perfect. And 29% thought that some elements of the course experience hindered their learning. But we need to see that on the sort of the back carpet of the overall how they felt about the course. This is an interesting citation. The appreciation of meeting real situations and projects as challenging. The student felt that he or she learned a lot by being challenged in new ways, both academically and practically. And not the least also, I also learned a lot about myself in different settings. Again, this very important existential dimension of education. Let's see, did I have another one? I didn't. So the influence of the course compared to other courses I took during my studies, this course was 80% found it more influential than other courses they've taken, and around 60% found it much more influential. It's been the most important course during my studies, created very significant impact on my worldview, ambitions, passions, and agency. Not to sound too dramatic, but quite life-changing. And we're very happy to see expressions of impacts from students that go beyond the mere learning of topics within agroecology, but something that touched them as whole people and how they relate to the world. So there were, of course, some implications for further course improvements, and because we had the open comment part of this survey, there's like this citation here. Some students seem to give up on the course, which was very disappointing. I think they wanted more quantitative positivist style learning, question mark. And we relate that to this shift we've made from single discipline to transdisciplinarity. I was often frustrated by the weak technical level from one student, and it goes to what do students expect from a course like this? And some students expect that you can go into every corner of the whole food system, which would require maybe 30 master level programs and not one. So you focus on something, you can't go into all the corners and all the nuts and all the bolts. The request for feedback came up. Understanding is autonomous learning, but still, I would have benefited from more guidance, feedback from teachers. And there were some comments like this on the final assignment, and the assessment work we're doing, which is also an area which is very important for this kind of education, that you can develop assessment procedures that are compatible with the ethos of the way you do education. And then this interesting comment that we actually heard in a sense in the meeting we had in Sweden last week. The course is almost ahead of its time. It can be difficult to integrate what we learned in our professional lives. Innovative teaching. So we say that there's these areas of supervision, there's the assessment, and what is this kind of? It's an open question. So that was mainly what I had. Jannike, can I ask you, when it comes to the questions, should we wait and put them up later, probably?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
let's
I'll
do
round
that.
off and I can log in again and, right? Or you will do it. You have that.
Yeah, I have
So
also the questions on the
that's all I had. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe if you, okay, excellent. So we have some time for questions. If anyone has any burning questions about the program, we have a few minutes before going into the
So I
breakout
have a
rooms.
question.
Yes, Kevin?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I have done more trainings in regenerative agriculture and organic agriculture. So my willing is to attend this master's degree of agroecology, which is the most important. So it's helpful just to reduce this methane but it's like just to produce crop, to produce food that is tonic foods. Yeah, which it was the most important. I have even tried in my country. So, but I don't have more knowledge on that. So I would like just to apply this master's. How can I apply it for it? So how is the process?
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. So it was
Thank
a little
you.
hard to
Yeah,
hear, but
Kevin.
Kevin had, yeah, maybe you can comment,
Sure. If
yeah,
you
briefly.
if you want to apply, you need to you can get our email address from Jannike. You are connected, aren't you? You can send it to us, Jannike. Because I should if you if you don't have any sort of family connections passport that relates to Europe, you have to apply before December the 1st. So you have a week from now to apply. The deadline is December 1st for non-EU, including Norway, because we're not EU. Norway, Iceland, Switzerland.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thanks for
Yeah.
asking.
Any other questions about the program?
Yeah, I have one question.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Manju from University of Kerala. Yeah, we have been trying to run a short course on agroecology from the guidance, using the guidance from the Norwegian team. So my question is regarding the assessment or the evaluation part. So that is where we found it more challenging because that has been a small course, and if you are extending it as a master's program in India, in Indian framework, universities have particular pattern of evaluation. So 40% weightage is for continuous evaluation, where it's okay. We can adopt all this experiential learning and evaluation technique. But coming to the final part, we have 60% weightage where we give written exams. So in that case, this adopting or this sort of a system into our evaluation part, that has been very challenging for us also. So yeah, any inputs from Professor Leplin, it would be good to hear.
That's a very good question. It relates to institutional challenges in institutions that are very, and I know your university and other universities in India, there's a very tight bureaucracy there and very strict rules. We've seen that in other countries in Europe, also in projects we've been in, that the laws and rules of the university hinders many different kinds of activities. I don't have a direct answer, I must say, but I'm sure it might be possible to find ways of dealing with such a situation. We can sit down at one point, Manju, but my colleagues might have some inputs there on the spot.
I have a comment.
Yeah, Chuck.
Yeah, evaluation is always a challenge, of course, and differs with cultures and university processes and all that. But I think we're at the opposite end of the classical, traditional European model of having one exam at the end of the year on which everything is based. I say at the opposite end of the spectrum because we call evaluation a continuous and comprehensive process that takes place almost every day. So we're dialoguing with students, we're evaluating through group processes, and it's a constant process of evaluation. And I think that's much better because it gives people immediate feedback.
Thank you. Brittany, go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, thanks for that really interesting presentation. And forgive me if you said this and I missed it. I did drop off briefly. You mentioned what your students do afterwards, but I was wondering who your students are when they come. Like, what disciplines do they come from? Are they mostly young, like they've just finished university, or are more of them already working professionals in the field, or where do they come from?
I think all of that. I mean, with the collaboration we have with the French institution, they might be 20 when they come, because then they have their bachelor's degree. The French start early, So the oldest students we had she was 69 when she entered the program, which is slightly an outlier, but we do have had many students sort of between 35 and 50, but we have had quite many sort of that have been done their bachelor's degree and then worked for 3, 4, 5 years. And maybe find themselves in positions where they feel they're searching for jobs with more possibilities to sort of express themselves, so to speak. And then in many cases, it's valuable also for the sake of the degree to have a master's degree, and but also that they search for other ways of developing, and yeah. And I think that's based on our experiences from our colleagues in Sweden who have had a master's program for almost 15 years now. And the work we do in France, we're also involved in master teaching education in Italy. You often have students between 25 and 35 years in these master programs.
Thank you. I also have a question. I don't know if, well, we have one student here. I don't know if Björn, you would like to share something from your experiences. What has kind of been the most interesting or impactful aspects of the program for you?
Yeah, I mean, I recognize a lot of the quotes in the presentation here from the survey, that this course, and it's something also about coming. That's kind of the first thing that meets you when you start this master's program, is this course, which has a completely different approach to teaching than what almost everyone is used to. So I came from